Hello, I'm Sarah, and welcome to my knitting podcast. I've had a pretty good few weeks since I last made a video, and I hope that you've had a good few weeks too. I've gotten a lot of knitting done, so I'll just start telling you about it. I finished this jumper that I'm wearing now. It's the Yanni jumper by Orlane Sucche, or Tet Besh knitwear design, and I finished this about a week ago, and I've been wearing it non-stop ever since I finished it. It's a top-down sort of saddle shoulder contiguous design, or maybe it's a raglan, I'm not totally sure. I think it's really a saddle shoulder, and it's sort of sweatshirt inspired. So it has this really deep yoke and the sleeve sort of seam that goes down there. I used Whistleberry Cheviot Marsh in the Aran weight to make this in the colors All at Sea and Longitude. I got this yarn as a present from my dad about a year and a half ago, and I really love the two colors together and the thin stripes. I've had some revelations to do with this jumper since I last recorded. The first one being that, according to my dad, this is the exact pattern of the wallpaper that was in my bedroom when I was a baby, which is, to me, it's kind of funny. So I guess I subconsciously recreated it, or maybe they're just colors that are good together. But like the stripe width and the two different blues is apparently exactly the same, which is kind of nice. My parents moved house quite a bit when I was a kid, so I lived in quite a few different houses and apartments. So my memory of the early ones my memories aren't that clear, but we did actually go back to this house just a couple months ago, and it was a doctor's office that my parents bought when they were in their 20s, and then they like redid the whole house up this is in Edinburgh, and the people who bought it from them in like 2005 maybe hadn't barely changed anything since then. So we went in, and they like it's all the same, almost all the same, like wallpaper and all the same paintings on the walls that my dad did, and the little marks of how tall I was every year were still inside the closet. So that was really amazing to see. It was really nice that they let us go back in, but this room had been redone, so I don't remember. I don't actually have a memory of what this looked like. Anyway, I found this pattern very easy to follow, although I made a really stupid mistake. It was totally my fault when I was reading the yoke, and I ended up having to rip out like ladder back and fix this last section of raglan increases. You can kind of see the seam of where I did it on this side, but it looks good. I think that had I not said, you would never know that I had done that. So that was a very time-intensive fix. You cast on in the round, and then you work short rows, which you can see because of my stripes, and then you knit in the round, but you're increasing along this shoulder seam just on the body for a while, and then there's a middle section of the raglan where you're increasing, a bit of fluff, on both the body and the sleeve, and then there's this where the rate changes, and you end up with a very, very deep yoke. For reference, this is my armpit, and then after you knit all of that, the sleeves and body are very short. So that was actually pretty satisfying. They went by pretty quickly. I did the sleeves first because I had a bit of a confusion with the yarn amounts that I would need, which I will tell you about in a minute. And then I knit the body to be longer than the pattern called for, because I knew that the yoke was very deep and I wanted to still have, like, be able to move around in it without it getting too, I don't know, if it's too cropped, I would be revealed if I lifted my arm up. So I knitted a little bit longer, also because I wanted an even number, like a good nice number of stripes under the arm. So I knit to 10 stripes, which is 40 rows, 10 stripes of each color. She has you decrease under the arms every 6 rows, but I knit plain a little bit without decreasing before I started doing that. And I really like the fit of this. I think that I only really need this one with such a deep yoke. But I do think that it has like a sweatshirty look. It's really comfortable. I didn't follow the instructions on the for the sleeves, but because the way that the pattern is written, it's in 2 columns. And this introduction, like, the pattern is written and it has 2 columns on each page of text. And there are photos interspersed. And the beginning of the section that describes what you're to do with the sleeves is like halfway down the page. So I had scrolled so that that was at the top of my screen. And then next to that, there's a picture. And then under that, there's instructions for how to finish the sleeve. And I didn't scroll back up to see that there were instructions at the top of that column, because it just looked like it continued over. So I basically did no decreases for the sleeve until I got here to about here, and then I knit 8, knit 2 together, and then 4 rounds later, at the start of the next stripe pattern, I knit 7, knit 2 together, and then 4 rounds later, I knit 6, knit 2 together. And then at the beginning of the ribbing, I knit 5, knit 2 together. And that gave me this sort of, I mean, it definitely brought the sleeves in. But I might do more of a decrease if I were to make this pattern again. But it felt like a pretty dramatic decrease. My sleeves are also very long. I just couldn't believe how short it was saying to knit the sleeves, so I knit them a bit long, but I have quite often been wearing it with the cuff rolled up, and I really like that look. Here. I think that it like emphasizes how blousy the sleeves are. So yeah. I did the color you do after, and I did all of the finishings are in the navy blue color. And then the very bottom you can see is also in the navy blue. And all of the ribbing is 2x2 rib. So I think that that's pretty much all there is to say. Each stripe is 2 rows that I did. I really love the stripes in this. I think that they're great. Yeah, I'm happy with it. And I think even though I wanted something with a deep yoke here, I think that it's a little, maybe ideally it would be a little less deep. It would be maybe ideally here. And I think if I make another jumper of a similar pattern, I would have it with a significantly less deep, like half as much positive ease in the yoke, which would put it like here. But for it being its own thing, it's great. It's perfect for this time of year when it's a little bit chilly some days and at nighttime. And I really enjoy the yarn. It definitely softened up after blocking and became more drapey. And before blocking, it was quite stiff and crunchy. So it's much more wearable now. And I think I'm gonna get a lot of wear out of this over the next couple of years. So yeah, I would totally recommend this pattern. I would say be prepared that the yoke is deep if you're gonna make it. I think I was off in the number of stitches for my sleeves by about 20 stitches per sleeve. I had too few. And I thought they're gonna be big enough anyway. It's gonna be fine. So I just didn't do anything about it. I think that all of those mistakes were my own and none were due to the pattern at all though. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. I'm very happy with it as well. The only thing I'm unhappy, oh, let me just tell you, I used 300 grams, almost on the dot, of navy. It's very confusing to me. The jumper in total weighs 550 grams, like after finishing, after blocking, but I used 2.5 skeins of the light blue and 3.5 skeins of the dark blue. So something isn't adding up. Maybe my skeins were extra big, or I washed out. There was like a lot of weight that got washed out somehow. I don't really understand how that happened, but when I began the project, I was worried that I wouldn't have enough, and I did. And when I was in the middle of the project, I was worried I wouldn't have enough. And so I ordered more online so that I wouldn't have to wait a long time. And I didn't need any more. And the reason I didn't think I would have enough is because my cat had knocked a full skein under the sofa. And then I found the full skein under the sofa. And then I knew that I didn't need any more. Also, because I was worried by how much yarn the yoke took up. And I didn't realize, I just wasn't thinking. I didn't think about how the arms and body would be like proportionally much shorter than normal. So I shouldn't have ordered the extra yarn. But I bought 2 extra skeins of the navy because I was like, if I order one and it's not enough, I'm gonna have to order again. And shipping from the UK was $25, which I'm happy to pay for shipping. I think it's important to not expect free shipping from small businesses. So I'm fine with paying for shipping, but I didn't want to have to do it twice. So I got 2 skeins of the navy blue plus 2 other skeins. And I didn't need any of them. But I think I'm gonna make a matching hat or like scarf, because I have leftover, I have this bin of yarn right next to me. I also have a leftover skein and a half of the light blue. So, and I have 2.5 skeins of the navy blue. So I can make some matching accessories, and I think I will. I think that will look cool. Normally you hear about like a matching accessories set, but it's not often. It would be like a matching hat to a jumper or like gloves. So I think that could be really fun, but probably a project for the autumn and not for right now. So yeah, I mean, the yarn won't go to waste, but I felt really stupid after I realized that not only was there another skein under the sofa, but I had bought 2 and I actually needed 0. So yeah, the other 2 yarns that I bought, I'll just tell you about them now. This is my like bin of whistleberry yarn. I bought another skein of the hedgeberry color, which was the 3rd color that was part of this gift. At that point in the year, whistleberry was really low and they didn't have a sweater quantity of any color. So my dad got me a few skeins of 3 different colors. So I had 3 of these, which isn't enough to make a garment. So I bought another one, and I'm thinking about making a striped thing. And then I also got this light pink in a DK to stripe with it. And then the other things that are in this bin are leftovers from a project that I made using this yarn a few years ago. I made a yellow timepiece cardigan. And yeah, I think that could be an interesting like striped sort of thing. But again, maybe like an autumnal project, just because it's quite heavy for this time of year to be knitting with the really thick yarn, but it is fun. So that's a pro. My other finished object is something that I think you will be glad to see the end of, and it's finally the finished object update for my Erika socks. Here they are. It might be a little bit hard to see because it's such a dark yarn, but there is the lace pattern. It's like this beautiful leaf in the middle with vines in this sort of pearl section, and then the rest of it is just a normal sock. I did a wedge toe and an eye of partridge heel flap. The pattern calls for a stockinette heel flap, but I don't know why you would do that. If you're already doing a heel flap, may as well do a reinforced one. At least that was what I thought. So these took me a really long time, and then when I finished them, I put them on, and even though they were the same exact number of rows, and I've been knitting now for like 15 years, and I haven't had a change in my tension. I mean, with the first couple years I was knitting, I wasn't measuring my tension, but like my tension has always been, I've never really dealt with a change in my tension. But the second sock I knit was so much smaller than the first, and it wouldn't fit on my foot. So even though they were the same number of rows. So basically and the first one was also a little bit too small. I blocked them, the problem persisted. So I ripped out both toes down to the row before I started decreasing and added length and then did the toe. This means that they are different numbers of rows, but I just prioritized the fit, really, over them being exactly the same. Because I guess my tension just really changed for one of them. So you can see for this first sock, you can see where the marker is where I ripped back to the original point where the toe started, and I added about 10 rows before doing the toe again, and the lace continues up onto it. And then for the other sock, I did about 15 rows before doing the toe. And then I wove in all of the ends. I left quite a bit of a thicker toe box than I normally would, and that's because it seemed like they were going to be too long, and I just didn't want to do it a third time. So they're done. I'm so happy to announce. The pattern is the Erika socks from Lina's 52 Weeks of Socks. I'll put the information on the screen, and it will also be in the description box. And I really enjoyed knitting the pattern. I think everything that went wrong was just confusing things that happened for no reason, or maybe because I was not paying enough attention. I guess except for the heel flap, which I would say just reinforce if you're gonna do it. I've made a bunch of patterns out of the 52 Weeks of Socks book recently, and they've all been great. So that's cool. I really feel like I'm getting my money's worth out of that book. I mean, I probably haven't like broken even, because the book cost $35 and I think I've made $6. Okay, maybe I have. If I made $6, that's roughly $6 per pattern, which is maybe how much I would spend on a sock pattern. Not that it really matters, but it's a little bit satisfying. The color is Forbidden Forest by Sugar Plum Circus, and it is this beautiful deep, deep forest green. And I used a 2.25 millimeter needle, and I knit it on magic loop, which I've been really enjoying knitting magic loop recently. So those are all of the stats and facts for the Erika socks. Finally, they're done. I do have one more half-done sock, well, half-done pair one complete sock to do that I started while I was in Edinburgh, so I'll get to work on that next. But I was in my sock zone for a while, and now I'm kind of not in my sock zone, so that's okay. So these are my two finished objects. This didn't take very long for a jumper for me, because I wouldn't say that I'm a very fast knitter, but I feel like I've made quite a few podcasts where I'm talking about all the same things. I think because I've been recording more regularly, just that's how it goes. So I'm very happy to have both of these things finished, and I am excited to show you the new things that I'm working on, and some old things too. So I just need to start with the one that I'm the most excited about, because I can't hold it in. Last episode, let me just grab it. Last episode, I told you that I bought this book, Moosh and Friends from Lina, and I have made Hazel the squirrel. I'm considering her a work in progress because she's not stuffed, and I haven't sewn up the tail hole or the stuffing hole. But the knitting is done. She's so cute. It's hard to show you the head. The head is probably the thing that's gonna look the wonkiest. But here you go, look at her. She's so cute. The ears. Here's the little, there's like kind of a weird lump on the back of the neck. I'm hoping that that will just sort itself out with stuffing, because she's very like flat-faced right now. And then look at the little arms and paw. And her butt. You make the bum the same way you turn a heel on a sock, which is funny. And then look at her feet. And then the tail, which was the worst part to knit. And I don't think you'll really be able to see what the tail is going to look like till it's stuffed. This was a serious bit of knitting for the tail. My cousin had a baby, and my boyfriend's brother and his wife had a baby. So I'm sort of gearing up to make gifts for babies. And this might not be a very good gift, although I did embroider all of the facial features in case it does become a gift. But it can't really be washed because I used Holst Super Soft. I mean, you couldn't put it in the washing machine. I don't know very much about babies, but it's probably a good idea to have toys that you would be able to clean, right? So maybe if I do give this, it'll be more of a shelf toy, or like a nice playing toy, and not like a put in your mouth toy, but then you can, I don't really know how it works. Anyway, it's kind of not I just am the giver of the gift, you know? It's not my job to dictate how the gift is played with. So that was why I bought this book, because I knew I was going to be giving some gifts. And that was my intention when I started making Hazel the squirrel. But now it's going to be so hard to give her away. Knitting this was so much fun. I felt like the glory of creation as I was making her. Like, I would sit down and I would knit an arm, and it would take an hour, and then I was like, she has an arm, and I would text all my friends. It was really exciting. And the pattern is so complicated, but not difficult. But almost every single row, there are instructions, and you're doing something. It's like a knitting project with no fat. There's no like knit this many inches in stockinette. You maybe get like knit 6 rows at most. And I knit her on Magic Loop 2.25 millimeter needles. I originally tried on DPNs because DPNs are kind of my bread and butter, but I found that they just kept sliding out, and it was so hard to keep all the stitches straight. And also the book is sort of written with the intention of being knit using Magic Loop, because it gives you, for the rows where the stitch number changes, you're given the number of stitches, but also you're given the number of stitches for the front and for the back, or for the top or the bottom. So it is useful to be knitting on magic loop because it makes that counting much easier. I'm sure you could do on DPNs, and I knit like this, the arms on DPNs and the ears on DPNs. So you kind of need to have a bunch of needles laying around. So cute. But the amount of detail in this little squirrel is just amazing. And I love the face. I think I did a really good job embroidering the face. So yeah, I haven't done the stuffing part, but I think it's going to be kind of difficult because that's kind of a small hole. The pattern originally says to go down to 6 stitches for the tail, and I went down to 12 because I just thought I can't even get my finger in there for the tail to stuff it if I go down to 6. So I think maybe my gauge is a little smaller than in the pattern, or my skills are lower. That's probably likely because I haven't made a stuffed animal in years. She's so cute, I love her. It's gonna be tough to give her away, and I am excited to make the other ones in the book. Although the dress, which I will show you, she has a dress. I'll just show you a picture of it from the book. There she is. So I'm knitting her dress right now. I'm in this first level of, really don't want to give the pattern away. I'm in this first check layer. These are the colors that I'm using. Oh, this green and blue. The green is John Arbin Exmoor Sock. And the light blue is from Woolly Mammoth Fiber. I don't remember the color name of either. The Woolly Mammoth one I don't think is a repeated colorway. It was a mini in a sock set that I got over 2 years ago. And then I think the green one would be obvious if you liked it and wanted to look it up, like on the John Arbin website, because there's not that many colors. So here I am with the dress so far. It's double knit. It's got a double knit button band, which I don't like, not button band, hem, which I wouldn't even do on my own thing, but only the best for Hazel. And it's knit flat. This is going to take a very long time, I think, but it's happy work. So yeah, I love her. I just highly recommend, I mean, if you want to make a stuffed animal, if you feel like you're knitting a lot of things that take so much time and they feel so big, and you want like gratification and to make something that's just so cute, I cannot recommend this any higher. I cannot give a higher recommendation. I loved every second of knitting this, except for the tail. But a lot of them don't have tails. Like the sheep, I don't think has a tail. So if I had knit the sheep, I would have been really happy the whole time. I just was kind of done by this point in time. And I knit the whole thing in 2 days. I just couldn't stop. So yeah, I think I do this quite often where I make something kind of intending it to be a gift, but then I really like it and then I waver over if it will be a gift or not. So that's what's going on with her. But what a fun knit. Really, I really enjoyed it. It only used 15 grams of wool. Like this weighs 15 grams. So that's kind of amazing. Wool's super soft. That's like less than 100 meters, I think, of yarn for a whole like creature. I don't have stuffing. And I don't keep my yarn scraps, so I'm gonna need to go buy stuffing in order to stuff her. So I'll do that soon, but I don't really want to have like a big bag of stuffing, so hopefully they sell it in small quantities. And I'll get the dress finished and then I'll decide her fate. I don't think I'm going to block her. Like I could, it's super soft, so I think that the fabric would change quite a lot once the spinning oil is washed out. But I really like the fabric the way it is, and I think I'm just gonna leave it, and then if I do give her away, she will transform the first time she's washed. I mean, I would give instructions on the best way to wash when I give away, but yeah, I don't think I'm going to wash. I can't believe how the little feet look. They're so cute. There are so many ones in here that I want to make. The sheep, as I've spoken about, is so cute. I think that, and then the duck, I mean, they're all very cute. I think that what I'll do is give it a little rest after the dress, because I'm already kind of like, that was really fun, but I need to take a break. And then I'll just make something based on what colors of yarn I have. And maybe I'll make something bigger, like with thicker yarn and bigger needles. That seems like it could be really good. Just something a little bit less fiddly. So maybe I'll do like the orangutan or the bison with a brown or an orange. I'm a little bit scared of monkeys. A little bit is an understatement. I'm very scared of monkeys. So if I made the orangutan, I'd probably give him away. Not that he wouldn't be great, just that better in someone else's home, maybe than in mine. But yeah, maybe that's the thought for next. So that was a rip-roaring success. Next time, well, if I do choose to give her away, I'll record a little clip of what she looks like stuffed and dressed before sending her off, so that you can see. Yeah, this is just so fun. I've got 2 more works in progress. This one you've seen before. I've been chugging away at it. It is my pink hat. It's the Iris hat by Sari Norland, which is a top-down 1x1 rib hat. I think that she wrote it intending for it to be made with fingering weight and mohair at a tight gauge, like a DK weight. I'm using a light fingering weight held double. The yarn that I'm using is Pearl Soho line weight in super pink, which I don't think they make anymore, but it's this beautiful neon pink, and I think it'll just be great as a hat. And it is such a stiff fabric. It's so plush that it's just gonna be great. It's not a very, oops, I dropped some stitches. It's not a very hardy fabric at all. I've used it before in 2 projects. I used it to make myself a jumper, but I was holding it with this like really, really great mohair that just had so much fuzz. And then I've also used it to make a baby jumper, which was maybe a mistake. I held it double. It took so long, and I think the baby wore it one time for a picture. What is the etiquette if someone has a baby and you make them a jumper and then they have another baby? Surely the second baby can just wear the first jumper that I made, right? I don't have to send another jumper. That's probably still perfectly good. Do I have to make another one? Because now I feel kind of bad that I never made the second baby anything. Well, now he's not a baby. Now they're all, well, now this younger one is a 2-year-old and the older one is a toddler. I guess he's not too old for me to like give him something. If he likes stuffed animals, I'll make him a stuffed animal, but I don't think I'm gonna make another baby sweater. The last one just took so long, and it was made out of this. I think I should have used a thicker yarn, and I also should have used like something that can be washed properly, like in a machine, instead of a yarn like this, which has to be hand washed. Yeah, this hat is great. I am not sure if it will fit. If it is too small, I'll give it away to one of the children that I've mentioned in this episode. I don't think it could be too big because it's ribbed. I guess if it's too big, I'll give it away too. But that would be a bit sad. And I think I'm gonna get a ton of wear out of this. The weird thing about this yarn is that it does not have very much elasticity. It's a single ply, non-superwash merino, and it almost behaves like a plant fiber because it really doesn't have any give to it. It means that the cake has been like really unstable, like it's sort of sliding up over this side, which is a little bit stressful. And it's not super great on my hands to work with, but I do really like the fabric that's coming out from it. I'm knitting it on DPNs. The DPNs are a little short for this, but it's a size 3mm, and I don't have a circular needle in a size 3, and I don't think that any of the circular needle sets that I have a 3mm needle, because it's kind of an unusual size in the States. So the DPNs are fine. This is kind of my to-go project. And I was originally worried that I wouldn't have enough yarn to make a full hat because it said on the pattern page that the hat required like 600 meters if you're holding it double, and I had like 450, I think the line weight is. But I've got over 2/3 left, so I'm gonna be fine. It's just a 1x1 rib at this point, so it's sort of mindless knitting. Maybe I'll buy a needle that will make it easier to knit and travel with. It'll probably get done a lot faster if I did that. So yeah, I'm enjoying that. It's sort of just chugging along. I'm not gonna wear it anytime soon, so it's a very casual project. The last thing I'm going to show you is something I've been knitting on for a while, just under a year, and I have picked it back up again. So yeah, because I want to get it finished. And it is my Tessellated pullover, which is a design by Andrea Mowry that I think is last year's Rhinebeck pullover, but she's been releasing other like versions of the pattern stitch pattern since then. So now there's like socks and a cardigan, and but this is the original pullover. This is my version of it. I'm using Brooklyn Tweed's, what is it called? Shelter in Bird Book, which is one of the first, it is the first sweater quantity that I ever bought. I bought it in 2018. It's not the first sweater I ever made. Oh no, that's not true. It's like, but it's one of the first sweater quantities I ever bought. I guess it's the first sweater quantity I ever bought that I didn't then knit into the thing that I was intending to knit it into. It would have been my third sweater if I had made it into the thing I had planned. But that got knit and then partially and then unraveled a while ago. And yeah, it's an interesting yarn. It's almost like got a felted texture and it's very fragile. So, and it's got these tweed speckles of yellow, blue, and red, I think, and green. I don't think you can see any of the blue there, but it has them. And you can see them in the fabric subtly. The contrast colors I'm using are this Jamieson and Smith yarn, which has a lot of different colors, and it's dyed in the wool and it's got a lot of stuff going on in there, but it's got a lot of yellow and blue in this dark brown. And then the mohair I'm using is I bought it from Swoon Fibers on Etsy about 4 years ago in 2020. I don't think I've ever seen her do the colorway again. It was wheat, I think, or like wheat stock, something like that, golden wheat. And it's knitting up to be much cooler than it looked in the skein. I love this. I've seen so many beautiful versions of this pattern online. I love the way that the 3 yarns get to play together. And not to be overconfident, but for me, this is my favorite version of it that I've seen. So that's just a great feeling, you know, that like I'm making one and it feels very perfect for me. So I've knit the whole body and one sleeve. And then well, is this all a sleeve? No. I mean, on this sweater it would be a sleeve, but I don't think this is quite a whole sleeve. Almost a whole sleeve. And then I just stopped working on it. I was originally going to make this into a raglan. The pattern is a drop shoulder, and that was the plan the whole time before I started it. But I think in this episode I've been doing great. Like, I have my cute squirrel, I love this jumper, I finished my Erika socks, but in the 1 or 2 episodes before that I was kind of struggling. I made a couple different patterns that really hadn't worked out, and I made the decision last week that I was just going to follow the pattern for this and not try and modify it. Since it's a mosaic knitting pattern, the row gauge is like weird or abnormal, so I wouldn't just be able to do what I would do on a normal raglan that had a normal row gauge. Like, I wouldn't be able to use the decrease rate from that. And I don't really feel mentally prepared to make a bunch of swatches and figure out the nicest way to have a raglan seam. So I think that I'm just going to follow the pattern and make a drop shoulder. It's not really, I would still rather it to be a raglan, but I think I would love a drop shoulder version more than I would love to have this remain a whip, or to try and knit a raglan and then have it go horribly wrong. Because I've made a bad raglan or 2 before. So that's my plan now, just go back to the original pattern. I really like the fabric. Again, I don't think this is going to be getting much wear from me in the summertime with the mohair and the shelter. But come autumn, I think it will be really nice. The other thing that would be really great about doing the original pattern is that I don't have very much of this yarn, this mohair. I can't get any more of it, and I haven't been able to find something that matches it very well. I tried to buy something from Knitting for Olive and the yarn store sent me the wrong yarn and then just never replied to my emails. I kind of feel like, I don't know, it was that yarn shop is knitt.co.uk. I emailed them for months, and occasionally I would get a response and they would just say like, oh, email us with the issue, like what's the issue? And I would refer to all the previous emails and then they would never do anything. So can't recommend that yarn store, but I've tried to match it and I haven't been successful so far. And what I'm taking a very long time to say is, if I am unsuccessful in matching it, I can just put one that doesn't match quite as well at the back, on the back of the drop shoulder like yoke, and knit the sleeves and the front in this. And that's like not a bad option to me. I think that I'm probably going to be right on the edge of having enough of this yarn. I have shown that I'm pretty bad at overestimating how much yarn I'll need, but yeah. seems kind of high stakes because this is such a time-intensive pattern because it's mosaic knitting. So I think I will, my first port of action, my first thing that I will do will be to knit on the next sleeve, and then when both of the sleeves are the length that they need to be, I'll start working on the front and the back. I think I don't think you knit the sleeves separately in the original pattern, but that's fine. I'll just sew them on. I'm prepared to do that. And I'm excited to finish this lovely project. Over 1 year after I cast it on, probably by the time I finish it. So yeah, I'll be working on this sleeve next. And I did mark my increases, but I didn't do a great job like doing them. They don't look that good. You can't really see because of all the markers. So I don't really know. I don't have a plan. I need to just go and reread the pattern, I think. And that will be pretty easy. And I definitely have enough of the other colors. I've got loads of shelter. I'll have stuff left over. I've got like another 1, 2, 3, 4, I need another 6 skeins of shelter. So I've got more than enough to finish it. 6.5 skeins. So those are all of my projects right now. I did buy that yarn this week. I've already shown you my acquisition from Whistle Bear, which was unnecessary, but it's okay. And yeah, I've had a really fun and good 2 weeks of knitting. I'm really glad I turned it around from how it was going before, which was a bit of a shame. And I love this finished object. I've been doing pretty well, and I hope that you have been doing well as well. And I will talk to you next time. Bye.